Parent Entrepreneur Power, conversation number 232.
Parent Entrepreneur Power.
Wait, what? It's Mama Power!
This is the podcast for parents juggling the tough choices required for success in business while putting family first. Hi, I'm Mary Catherine Johnson, and I share the ups and downs and dirty truths of profits and potty training while chatting with successful parent entrepreneurs from all walks of life. Are you powered up? Hey there, Power Parents. You know who I am. Hello, MKJ here, and welcome to Parent Entrepreneur Power. I truly have to tell you really quickly how I met this individual. I was at Podcast Movement and in Philadelphia. My first time I've ever been to Philadelphia. I just was in this lounge and I was trying to get some work done, and I just could not help to listen in to what I was hearing. I was trying not to eavesdrop, but I just couldn't stop myself. So I just had to jump in after the conversation was over and it wasn't creepy that I was actually listening. And I had to jump in and introduce myself to this guy before he just scooted off to the rest of his life. So now I get to chat with him for you and actually record it and share this really incredible individual with you. So welcome to the conversation, Dr. Jarret Patton. He is a pediatrician, an author, a speaker, and a coach, and an overall amazing guy with a smile. If you get a chance to see it, you'll never forget it. Hey, Dr. Jarret, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much, MKJ, for letting me be on your show today. We had a great conversation in Philadelphia, and I can't wait to talk more with you today.
Yes. All right. So, everybody knows how we start this thing off. We ask you about your once upon a time story, because I really do think all of our lives are an amazing unfolding story. So tell me how you became an entrepreneur and a parent at the same time, and which came first, the kids or the business?
Well, the kids definitely came first. Growing up, I always wanted to be a truck driver, and I thought being a truck driver was something very interesting. But over time, I learned that I liked the sciences, I liked a lot of other things, and maybe driving a truck wasn't quite for me. So I went off to college and studied chemistry at Xavier University of Louisiana, and I was able to really understand two things: that one, maybe I wanted to become a doctor; two, working in a chemistry lab just wasn't going to be for me. So I was able to go on into medical school and trained at Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland. And from there, I really gained my interest in pediatrics. I was able to work with kids in the hospital. I would see them get sick, but they would quickly get better most of the time. And it was just something that I was drawn to throughout. So I went off from there to study at NYU and Bellevue in New York City, where I did my pediatric residency to really hone in my skills. And I was ready to go after I left there. I said, I'm going to go work in underserved neighborhoods, change lives, change communities. And I couldn't be more thrilled to get out and do my work. From there, I was able to work in Eastern Pennsylvania, where I actually did work in these communities, work with a lot of families that needed services and help in my pediatric offerings that I could do. And it was quickly shown that my leadership skills transferred to managing a clinic, which grew from just a 2-provider practice to over 16 provider practice by the time I was done with it. And my leadership skills transferred throughout the hospital system, where I was able to be a general pediatric director. I was able to be a cultural competency medical director, and this was over an 8-hospital system. So I thought I was living my dream. I was able to change policy, see patients, and just do great things for the community. I was ultimately put in the position of president of the medical staff in this institution. So I oversaw 1,400 doctors and over about 800 advanced practice clinicians. So it was a huge position over this hospital system in which I still was able to reach back and go see my patients and families from time to time and really make positive change on a board level so that the care could be better for everyone. And I thought at that time I was really living my dream. But all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I had a meeting with a hospital attorney that I usually would have meetings from time to time. And he said, Jarret, I hate to tell you. And he had a very anguished look on his face. And he said, you're under investigation. And I looked at him very confused in this glass encased room that we were sitting in. And I said, well, what am I under investigation for? And he said, do you recognize this person? Showed me a picture from Facebook of someone. I said, well, I'm not on Facebook. I don't recognize this person right offhand. And he went on to say that 3 weeks ago, I saw her infant son and her at a well baby exam. I said, okay, that's probably true. I did a lot of that. And he said that she claimed that I was being sexually inappropriate with her in the exam room. Right there, everything paused. I felt like I was in this vacuum. The walls that were already glass, they already just seemed like I was in a fishbowl.
Yeah.
And I could not imagine what was happening to me at that time.
Oh my gosh. Did you already have kids by then?
I did. I had 3 kids. I had my daughter, who is my oldest, and 2 boys at home. So this was a devastating blow for me and my family as I'm leaving the hospital after hearing this and said, hey, you're going to be on suspension until we can get this figured out. And we're going to go with this. In fact, the woman threatened that she was going to go to the police with this story, which she did, which it became a criminal investigation.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm devastated. I'm looking for ways to figure out my life. Why did this happen to me? Where did things go wrong in this encounter that we had? And it went on to go through both a criminal complaint, which ended up with me getting formal charges of indecent assault, as well as a state board of medicine complaint. So before I knew it, I had lost my medical license. I lost my drug enforcement agency certifications. I lost my job. And I was out on bail now. So I literally had formal charges against me. I was a wreck.
So from the time that you had that appointment with that attorney, which you thought was just a routine appointment that you had to, chat with this guy about this, that, and the other thing, about other people, not about yourself, right?
That's right.
From that minute to the time that you walk out actually on you didn't say probation, you said parole.
Yes. Yeah, so I was out on bail.
On bail. Okay, that's the word
Yes.
I'm looking for. So you can tell how much I know about the judicial system. So from those 2 times, from the time that you were charged by this attorney, or informed by this attorney, to the time that you were out on bail, how long of a period was that? You'd lost your job, you'd lost your license, you'd lost your DEA certificate. Your family, your life, the way you thought this dream life was total. You want to talk about a glass room is a perfect analogy for your life shattering, right?
Absolutely.
How long was that?
It took for about 3 months from the time that I had that meeting with the attorney till the time the formal charges were made and I was arrested. So it took that long for this to get even the beginning of the process going. From there, I actually had limited time because after the news story broke, the Board of Medicine got a wind of the story and they immediately suspended my medical licenses. So it affected me not only in Pennsylvania, but other states I have licenses. So it just became a huge snowball for something I just couldn't believe was actually happening.
And this is all from just an accusation. There's no trial yet. There's no nothing. This is just someone accused you of something. You had no power whatsoever. That person who accused you had all the power.
This is exactly right. And this is one of the big things going on in healthcare and our
Well, the
law
world.
systems, our criminal systems, all of this. The accusation actually was the thing that led to my downfall. There was no evidence. There was not a hearing. There wasn't a trial. There wasn't any of those things for much, much, much later. So the whole process in and of itself took about almost 18 months. It was about 16 months before I finally had my day in court.
Oh my
So
gosh. 16. I'm sorry. I got it. So think about this. 16 months of your life. Power parents, imagine that. I mean, we've all looked back, and especially if you have infants, okay? You have anyone, especially a newborn. 16 months, a heck of a lot of stuff changes in that time frame. That's a long time in some senses and a very short time in others. But to have your life upside down and ruined in this way for 16 months, I can only imagine, for me at least, it would cause some major happiness issues. Let's put it that way. I would not be, sitting here, being a happy-go-lucky kind of gal. The smile would not be on my face. I can't imagine waking up any day of those 16 months with any kind of smile.
well, I tell you what, it was extremely difficult. And one of the things, there are several things that got me through. One was my faith, one was my family, and one was my friends. The support from the community, my patients, people that knew me, it was felt immediately. People stepped out and spoke up, and they were trying to support me, my wife, my kids, the best way they knew how, because they knew that all I wanted to do was be a pediatrician. They knew all I wanted to do is serve the community. So as a result, there were a lot of days I was down because I realized that, someone who's working 80 hours a week, sometimes all of a sudden having nothing but free time and not being able to do anything. I'd find myself after school, I'd be pitching to the kids in a neighborhood kickball game or something. And so there were some great things that came out of that. And that's when my mood started to change. I was able to understand that, what, some things that are really bad happen in life, and I can't let this moment define me. I can't let this moment destroy me.
When did that happen? If I could ask you that right there, because
Yes.
I know we all, we see the movies and there's someone who's going through an arc of this situation and then all of a sudden, click, it changes. And there's usually something that triggers that change. So what was that for you? What finally made you come to that realization? Was it during that 16 months or did it take time after it was already done?
It was actually during that 16 months. When my kids went back to school in the fall, it was about 8, 9 months into this. And I knew at this point the number of delays that were going on in these parallel systems I was entrapped in. I realized this may not resolve for another year, maybe 2 years. I mean, there was just, I couldn't believe how slow the wheels of justice turned, how slowly the Board of Medicine would react to things. So I knew I had to take things into my own hands. So I knew I could not be sad. I couldn't be depressed. And I was going to have to figure out something to do. And that beginning something actually was me applying for jobs. And I said, well, I can transfer my leadership skills to this industry and that industry. But that was kind of a naive thought because being someone out on bail, well, nobody's going to hire me with these kind of charges hanging over my head. I even took the steps to fulfill that childhood dream and went to get my commercial driver's license.
Wow.
So I even went to get that as well. But again, I didn't have any truck driving experience. So it was at that point I said, this may go on forever. I need to do something for myself. And I still want to serve others. And I'm going to become an entrepreneur.
Wow. Okay. So, and we're talking your kids went back to school because that's, the first thing I'm thinking is your kids, right? Because they're in the community too. And kids are some of the cruelest people I know. I'm sorry. They are.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, they go back to school and I don't know if their their friends' parents know all this and talk. Of course, kids hear everything adults say. So coming into the school, how did they have to deal with that?
Well, it was tough. My oldest daughter had just finished college down in Louisiana. So it was driving her nuts because she was on social media. And
Oh,
luckily at
no.
that time, I wasn't even on social media. So I didn't know what people were talking about,
Yeah.
which was reassuring for me. But she felt bad being away from us and being so far away from us. It was really tearing her apart. But once I started to turn, I was able to reassure her things are going to be okay. The truth will come out and everything will be all right. And she was able to kind of look for jobs after she graduated and do her own thing. My son, who was in middle school at the time, we had a conversation with him and said, look, I've been in the news, I've been in the papers. You may hear these things about me, and I want you to understand what's going on first before people start to say stuff to you, which actually never happened. It never happened.
Yay.
The community, I think, rallied so much they just probably discounted the story and left it alone.
Yeah.
But they never came to my kids. And my youngest son, he's just kind of the baby, of course, so he's just oblivious to everything. And it was about 3 months into this whole thing when I'm home every day. So, Dad, when are you going back to work? So I said, all right.
All right. Yeah. What do I tell this one?
Yeah, right. That was a whole different conversation.
Yeah. Wow. Oh
So
my
that
gosh.
was one of the things. But around the time that I made that decision to try to do something on my own, this Board of Medicine completed their investigation and actually handed back my licenses unrestricted. So I never even went through a formal hearing with them. They figured out what was going on, did their investigation, and said, here, take this back
Wow.
and go. But I had been out of the game for so long at this
Well,
time,
and you
not to
lost your
mention I
job.
was shell shocked. That's right. I
Yeah.
lost my job. I'm shell shocked at the point that anything like this can blow your career out of the water. And I said, well, that's great to have it back, but I am going to have to continue to step out on this and make something happen on my own.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So take me through that timeline now. So give me some perspective of years. So when was that first accusation made? What year?
Yeah, that was 3 years ago now. So
So
it happened.
2015.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So 2015. So we're talking, you've only been out of this for probably 18 months,
Yes.
right?
That's correct. That
Okay.
is correct.
Wow. So, and about say 9, 10 months into it, you decided, okay, I can't just sit around here and wait for this to happen. I mean, I can imagine you had bills to pay. You had, I don't know if your wife worked or what your situation was at that time, but most of us don't just, have piles of money sitting in the bank that we can float ourselves for 10 months. Right?
That's absolutely correct. That was a true decision. In fact, my wife had to rally herself to support at a point where she was ready to almost stay at home full time and manage the kids because my position had gotten so demanding.
Yeah.
She was actually ready to transition out of her job that was already part time, but she had to do the opposite and turn it into a full-time job to help float and support us while I was completely without income during this time.
That's crazy. So, okay, yeah. And I hear you. Things happen to us. Mine wasn't like that, but it was where I fell and broke both my legs when I was 8 months pregnant, and I couldn't work. I could,
Wow.
yeah, I know.
Wow.
It was, yeah, that was, again, a defining moment. Very, very defining. And not because someone is accusing me, but because it took away my independence. And I'm a very independent person. And so when I couldn't even take a shower, right? I couldn't even go to the kitchen and get something to eat for myself or feed my 3-year-old at the time. I couldn't do any of that. So I had to ask other people to do everything for me, to the extent that my poor husband had to clean out my bedside commode. Right? I mean, we're talking how
Wow.
often do you have to go when you're 8 months pregnant? All right.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. That is tough.
Yeah, so I
Wow.
that was a defining moment, made a huge change for me. But obviously not made from the outside in terms of someone accusing me of something. That's crazy. And I want to come back to that in your really your feelings for that, because I know just seeing you and talking to you the few times we have, I know that has not been impacted your spirit. That has definitely not impacted your soul and your spirit, but I'm sure it did for a little bit. So we'll come back to that. But okay, so 18 months, so 10 months in, you said, okay, I'm going to become an entrepreneur, because it's I think the only option available to you, right?
That's right. I knew that nobody else may believe in me coming from the outside, given what was going on in my life. But if one person believed in me, that was good enough. And if that one person was me, and I was lucky to have more than that, I was able to have multiple people, which included my wife, my sister, my parents, my in-laws, and lots of people who actually believed in me. So it was more than just one that was able to help get me and say, you know what, if you're going to do this, go ahead and do this, and nobody can stop you.
Wow. Okay, so then what was this? What was this?
Well, the biggest thing that I did all throughout this time was just journal the way I felt on a daily basis, journal the things that were happening to me, documenting the details of the injustices that occurred, just as far as pretty much everything, because I said someday I'm going to have to write a book on this and just tell this story, because there's so many details that are unbelievable. I just had to keep them down and keep them going. But as I continued on, I was looking into other stories, and people would make me aware of similar things happening to physicians all over the country. And it was at that time I said, well, although I felt like I was alone in this, actually I'm not. These types of things happen quite frequently. And not only do they happen, a lot of times they destroy people. It may even destroy their life. Yeah. So I took a pause on my journaling and actually started writing my first book, entitled License to Live, a primer to rebuilding your life when your career is shattered. And that's exactly what I wanted to do, because I knew that I'd be able to present a message to those that are out there, for both physicians and other professionals, that would actually get out there and have them understand that, you know what, there is life after this moment.
Wow. So, okay. So the first entrepreneurial thing that you did was write a book. And if Power Parent, and I'm sorry, Jarret, if you don't, I'm calling us Power Parents because basically, as far as I'm concerned, if we've been able to get a kid through potty training, business is really nothing. So we can handle anything. We got power already. So, take that and run with it and realize whatever happens in business is nothing to helping a child survive life. Okay? We got this.
You're absolutely right. And actually that was part of the message in my book, because looking at the things that happen and how much focus and emphasis you put into a title or a career or something in that nature, you realize that, well, that's just a title or that's just a career. The people that really matter are your family, your spouse, your kids, your relatives, that your extended support system. These are the things that truly matter in life. And when you can understand that, the titles don't mean anything, and they can take away my licenses to practice medicine or my licenses to prescribe medications, but they couldn't take away my license to live, which is why I had the title to the story.
Isn't that amazing? We kind of have to realize that when everything else is kind of stripped away, huh? Sometimes it takes those situations where all of those things that we aspire to and we identify ourselves by, really it is an identity. When that's taken away is when we really see the true essence of what we really have. And it's not the things, it's not the licenses, it's not all these accolades or titles or anything like that. It really is the people that we're surrounded by. Okay, so I was going to go off on a tangent, but I'm going to keep myself focused because I want to know more. So, all right. So you wrote a book. All right. But writing a book is a long process. I know that because I did the same thing with my situation. People were like, how could you fall? How could you break your legs when you're 8 months pregnant? How could you do that? How could that happen? And how did it, they're thinking, did you have a skiing accident? Did you wear 9-inch heels? What? And I found out from the doctor that it was actually more common than I thought, because of relaxin, the wonderful little hormone that goes through our bodies to get prepared for delivery and all that stuff. It kind of makes your whole body drunk, all the ligaments drunk, not just the ones they need. And so, that was easy for me to just decide to be clumsy and, test that a little bit, see how much I could get away with. Well, I didn't get away with anything. So, but I had to write a book about that experience too, because it was the same. I went through depression. I went through all these things, and then finally came out the other side going, you know what? It doesn't matter. Really, these other things are really what matter. But I know that's a long process. So deciding to be an author as an entrepreneur doesn't mean you're going to get money immediately.
That's correct. That's correct. And that's why there was a couple of things that I decided to do in the meantime. Because I said, being an entrepreneur, being a startup business, it takes time before you're generating any type of revenue. It's all in the investment phase. But I knew, again, if I was going to invest in something, it was going to be myself. It's not unlike anything else I've done previously with my education or my career and that investment. So I said, let me invest in my own business so that I can be prepared to serve people in a way differently than I thought I ever would previously.
So what'd you do?
So I did some business coaching with a coach that helped me really understand some of the practical issues of business. So running a medical practice, there's some things you're doing and you understand budgets and financial concepts and you're working on that kind of premise all the time. But this is in a multi-billion-dollar system that has lots of cash floating around all over the place. So I had to learn how to be on a much smaller scale, find the resources I would need to get the job done, and at the same time be able to advance myself while I was writing the book and prepare myself for the next phase, which really became my coaching career.
Aha. See, I get that. When you go through a situation like this and you come out the other side, and the biggest question I got, and mine was, again, totally accidental, seriously, no pun intended, but it's there. So, it's still a situation you had to go through, and there were lots of choices I could have made along the way, right? But the biggest question I always got was, how did you do this? Everybody thought, the biggest thing was, how did you deliver a baby with casts on your legs? I'm like, you know what? Once they're in the casts, you don't feel anything anymore. It's just like having legs sitting there. The only problem is you can't put weight on them. So there's no pain, there's no nothing. So really, that's not a big feat, right? Everybody thought that was the biggest feat of all, was that how could you deliver a baby? The biggest feat was, and again, feet, sorry. But anyway, the biggest feat was how was I going to fit those darn things in the stirrups to be able to deliver the baby, right? So I couldn't. So my husband had to hold up one leg, and they had to call in another nurse to hold up the other one, right? So that wasn't really that big of a deal. It was all the other little things that I no longer had control over, that I no longer could do. Like get on the floor and play with my son. It was really, I looked at that as I can't do it. But once I got over that in my own stupid head, I just got on my knees, which were still there, and roll that belly over and sit on my bum and play cars. 5 minutes later when I had to go to the bathroom again, that was a different story, but still, it's the little things that you no longer can do that are more difficult than the feat itself. So what kinds of things, at least from my perspective, I don't know if that's going to be the case for you, but maybe this next question will answer that. What kinds of things do you coach people about? Or before I get to that, what was the biggest question you got?
The biggest question for me is a lot of people knew my character. They knew that I was always an upbeat person. I was positive, maybe even to a fault, when I would look at different situations, and they could see me in my down phase and say, that's not the guy I know. But then they saw me start to come back. And when I was coming back, that's when I started to have these visions of saying, you know what, there's another problem out here. It may not be a kid with a cough. It might not be a hospital system that may have issues with this, that, or the other that I could help with. But there are actually people out here that are suffering, and most of the time in silence every day, because something has happened to them in their career, in their life, that has made them become crushed, and they have that crushed sense of being. And I realized that my case, although may be highly exaggerated in many people's minds, these types of things that deal devastating blows to career happen all the time. And a lot of people let that moment define them, and they're not able to see around to the other side, and they get in such a deep rut, they just become not functional, just a shell of the person that they once were.
They get stuck. Yeah, definitely. They get stuck in that definition rather than finding their way out of that hole in that definition. So again, I guess that leads to what you coach people about.
Yes. And so I'm a career refresh and restart coach. I do this for physicians and professionals that actually are having difficulty in their career. Realizing I just started initially with physicians because I realized how many times this would happen to physicians. People actually would seek me out after I made myself and said, hey, I'm all over social media anyway. I might as well take that step to get myself out there and tell my story. People would contact me and said, well, how did you do this? How did you survive? Something like this happened to me. Something like this just happened to me yesterday, and I'm suicidal. And whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
I had no idea of the impact that I would have by, one, telling my story, writing a book, and then being able to help people to see beyond that immediate assault on them, because it does feel like an assault on you when they're attacking your position or your character or something about you. I mean, it feels like a personal attack. But at the end of the day, all of these systems involved view it just as business. They don't view it as personal.
Right.
And so you have to separate the personal and the business in order to move on.
I can see that very clearly. But still, when someone's attacking our character and attacking who we are, really, if you were, I won't say lucky because you created this luck. So in that sense, you had a structure around you that was maybe not intentional, but this is the way you live, right? So you have
Yes.
a supportive wife, you have kids, you have in-laws who are supportive, your parents supportive, friends, people in the community who valued you and supported you. So many people don't have that. And whether, again, choice or not, they may not have that. And they may look inside that, well, there might be a kernel of truth. And one of the things that probably keeps us stuck in those situations is we start believing the baloney that's being said and start believing, well, gosh, if so many people, if the justice system and the medical system or the legal system and all these people, if they think I'm so bad, I must be. Is that something that you have to help people get over?
Yeah, that's exactly it, because a lot of these systems are set up really to prove your innocence. Although there's ideally supposed to be proven guilt,
Right.
It's actually proven innocence because you're penalized right up front by, sanctions or charges or any number of things that could happen to you. And we have to get people to see around that and understand, in order for you to come out, you need to understand that you need to be able and be ready to play this game just like everybody else, because everybody else looks at it as a business, whether it's an organization or a system or any number of things. And if you are not playing that game and you're just standing in the corner like a boxing match and just getting punched in the face and punched in the gut and punched in the face and punched in the gut, you're just going to collapse and you're going to be done. They're going to call the fight, and and what does tend to happen many times, people plea bargain a deal, or they give up and just said, let this be over. I'll say whatever you want, just let it be over. And innocent people may go to jail, or they are convicted in charges that simply didn't happen.
So I think the way I look at this is, yes, you're talking about business because the justice system, the legal system, the medical system, it is logical, right? The attorney that talked to you wasn't all emotional, right? He didn't sit there and go, oh gosh, I'm so sorry. Oh, this is so awful. I can only imagine how you, I mean, he wasn't empathetic, sympathetic, none of those emotional things, right? He just said black and white. Dude, here's what's going on. You're being accused. Here's what's going to happen next. But I mean, he was kind, right?
Yes.
He didn't call you names and do all those kinds of things, but it was logical, right? It was not
Right.
emotional.
That's
But
right.
this is our life.
It is our life. And that's why you need that entire support and cast of characters around you. A lawyer would be a great example for someone who is in my situation, because a lawyer has been there before. They understand the game and they can help you navigate what needs to be done to get you through and let you understand this. Because there's a lot of things when you go into different industries, you don't necessarily understand technical jargon and this, that, and the other. So you need somebody that'll help navigate. And it's much like some of the things that a coach will do for you, because a coach will help you see some of the things that you can't see because you are so busy personalizing and so in your head, you can't really see the things around you. And that's exactly what a coach does. It helps you see some of the world of possibilities so you don't have that narrow focus that you tend to have.
And can look around the corner and say, okay, dude, I've been there before. I see what's coming around the corner. You're doing this, this, and this, and this is what's going to happen if you don't change it and do this, this, and this instead. Okay, so power parents, oh my gosh. All right, you have to take what Jarret's been talking about and extrapolate it to your business. Now, I know there are probably either zero or very few of the people listening to our conversation who have been through what Jarret's been through, okay? So you're not going to be able to associate anything specifically with that situation, but you are going to take the lessons. Please hear me, so I don't have to go out there and smack you across the head. You need to take these lessons, and 2 lessons I need you to take right now in relation to being a parent and an entrepreneur. Number 1, take the emotion out of your business. This is logic. This is not emotion. So that what I mean by that, and the number 1 way you can take that lesson and apply it today, the minute you get out of this and take these earbuds out of your ears and start with whatever you're going to do next, the thing you can do with taking that lesson is the next thing that happens that makes you go, oh man, maybe I'm not cut out for this. Gosh, I didn't get as many leads this time that I was supposed to get. Or I tried that Facebook ad and nobody responded. I got no sales. Or, oh my gosh, a client is mad and they don't like what I'm doing. And maybe I shouldn't do this. I just can't. That kind of stuff is what I'm talking about. It's coming. It happened yesterday and the day before and last month. It's coming tomorrow and in the next 6 months. We have days like that. We have high days and low days. You can keep the emotion of the high days. Go for it. That's awesome. Celebrate it. But the low days, get out of that emotion and look at it logically. All right, that Facebook ad nobody bought, that means I got to change that ad. It means nothing about me and my business and whether I am valuable to people. It just means I got to change that ad. Okay, right? You get me, right, Jarret? I mean, this is
I'm there.
Yeah.
I'm there. I've had that ad that fell on deaf ears, and you know what? I said, this is nothing compared to what I've been through, so whatever.
Yes, hallelujah. Okay, so that's the number 1 thing. The number 1 thing is keep the emotion out of it, the negative emotion. Don't make a personal judgment if things don't go well. This is logical, okay? So do that. Number 2, exactly what Jarret said. You need a support system. You need people around you. If you're looking at doing Facebook ads, I know right now I am no Facebook ads expert, and I do not, my team does not allow me to push the ad button. They just don't allow me to do it. They know it's not something I'm going to do because I know I'm going to just basically be donating money to Facebook, and they don't need my donation. So get people around you who know what they're talking about, who've been there before. And even if you don't get people who know it, if you feel you can't hire a coach right now, which I really think you can. But anyway, if you feel you can't, I'm not here to convince you one way or the other. You will be ready when you're ready. But you at least can get help. You can get help in your business and stop doing everything yourself. You can get help to do those Facebook ads. You can get help just to do posts on social media so that you don't have to spend an hour a day figuring out what to post. You can get help putting your blog posts on your blog. You can write them and someone else can format and do it and all that good stuff. There are things you can do and you can hire people to do. You must get help. So to those things, look at what Jarret just said. Through his situation, you don't have to go through having your license taken away, having all these things happen to you to learn the lessons from them. And please, to translate those to your business, at least those two things. I know there are many other things, and I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to ask Jarret to come back because we didn't even get into any of the other stuff that I know we can be talking about. Parenting and business and all that good stuff, right? So, okay, anything else besides those two things? If there's someone out there looking at your situation and they want to take something from it beyond those two very small things that I took from it, what would you tell them that they can take from your story?
You have to look at the big picture. And the biggest thing I tell people is that, yes, if you're going through something, it could be the biggest thing in the world, but you have to look beyond that. And you have to see where your space is on maybe this continent, maybe the world, maybe the universe. And when you're able to start dialing it back, you'll be able to understand the scale of whatever just happened is overcomable. You'll be able to achieve something beyond that. And you cannot let that moment define you. You can make your own definition.
Wow. You know, I have to ask you one more question about that, though, because I know we all have things that happen in our lives. We have tragedies. We have amazing successes. We have all these wonderful things and terrible things. And when we're in the middle of it, to even consider looking at the big picture, to even consider it really is like we are the center of the universe and someone's got a spotlight on us and everyone in the world is looking at us and judging us. So if someone's in that place, how one little baby step to try and dim that spotlight just a little bit, is there anything you can tell them to help them take that one little baby step to dim it just a little bit? Not just overwhelm it and totally make it go away, because that's not reasonable. That's not going to feel that way at all. But what can they do?
You have to take a baby step every day. And in fact, if you can take one positive thing out of your entire day and take that with you and focus on that positive thing, you'll start to take away the attraction and that focus to the negative things. Positivity in your mindset is key to all of this. So even in your deepest, darkest days, there's something positive that has happened in your life on that day. And you have to take a look at that and just relish in it and be happy for it and be grateful for it and be thankful for it and celebrate it. And it could be something as simple as, well, you know what? I was able to cross the street without getting hit by a car today. Something that you may take for granted, but that is a positive thing. If that's the only thing you have to look forward to, take it and celebrate it. But I guarantee you, if you look at your day as a whole, you're going to be able to find so many more positive things that happen to you and take that focus away from the negative things.
Amen. Oh my goodness. And I'm going to give you, Power Parents, I'm going to give you one thing that you can be grateful for every single day, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, no matter what's happening in your life. The number one thing to be grateful for, if you can't find anything else, is the fact that you actually were lucky enough to wake up today. Right?
There we go.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
You woke up. And even though, yeah, you might come back at me and go, yeah, thanks a lot, Mary. I woke up to a nightmare. Okay. Yeah. All right. Fine. You can say that. I'll give you that. I'll let you pout for a little bit longer. But then after that, I'm going to say, but dude, you woke up. The alternative is final. This is not.
That's right.
Right? You woke up. You have another day for a possibility of something different. Something different, not the same, not negative, something different. And please celebrate that. You woke up. You were able to open your eyes. I guarantee you there is someone in this world that is very happy that you woke up. All right? So, wow. All right, Jarret, I was serious. We spent all of our time talking about this, which I hope the Power Parents felt very valuable. I did personally. So we're going to have you come back and talk a little bit more about your coaching and just the whole story. Talk about your kids. I don't even know one of them's out of college. One was in middle school, probably coming up to high school now, and
Yes.
all that stuff. So I really want to know a little bit more about those details the next time I chat with you. Is it all right if we chat again sometime soon?
I would love to be on your show again. It's an honor to be here, and it's such great conversation.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. You've given so many golden nuggets, so many pieces of amazing, valuable wisdom. I can only imagine. And just to leave you with this, the thing that's in the back of my mind, and I know people's minds listening. I'm not exactly in everybody's minds, but this is, I'm sure, happened to you too. What the heck was going on with this woman? What in the world?
Boy, yes, that is the question. And as I've been contacted from a number of people going through these similar circumstances, they tend to be the same type of characters that go through maybe a drug history, maybe a prostitution history, maybe a large criminal background, felonies, lots of things that kind of go along in this system that, unfortunately, even with the allegations, things still have to be investigated, and the system is what the system is.
Yeah. And that, really, to be honest, my thoughts are, how to not pursue that. Because you have such a positive attitude, because you've been able to turn yourself through it, I know, to be honest, it probably doesn't matter. Right? Because that's just the impulse that started this whole process. You, I know, I don't know this, but I can assume, are grateful for the situation in the sense that it has taught you what is most important for you. Same with me, I assume.
You don't even have to assume that, because yes, I can look at it now and I said, this was supposed to happen, because the freedom I have with my family now, the freedom I have with my business now, and the things that I'm able to do now that I wasn't able to do 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago are just, a gracious gift that was given to me that I'm able to live on in this manner now and be able to touch so many lives and help so many people. And it just was never a thing that I visualized or was a part of my plan, but it was a part of God's plan. And that's the path that was laid for me. And I just couldn't deviate from that.
So it's a perfect example of thanking your enemies. Right?
Yes.
Appreciating and saying thank you to the people who've taught you the most. And it's usually the people who've done us the most wrong.
Yes.
Wow. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for sharing so many amazing gifts. And here's to the next time we get to chat.
Thank you.
To get powered up for your day, just go to parentepower.com and listen to the over 200 episodes we have so far with amazing entrepreneurs just like you. It might just help you feel like a grown-up again.